In today's video, I will be talking about the sophomore album by the band Mammoth called Mammoth II, released on August 4th, 2023 through BMG Rights Management. The last album that came out was about 2 years ago, and I think at that time everybody was expecting Wolfgang to create a new Van Halen or continue with the sound of his dad's band, but to everyone's surprise, it did not sound anything like the original Van Halen band. It was more of a post-grunge or alternative rock sound. It was Wolfgang, what he wanted to do after the passing of his father in late 2020. Let me read one of the comments from my last review, which said, Eddie told him, don't copy me, come up with your own shit. So he did, and it rocks. I mean, sure, he could have said, let's keep Van Halen going, but there's no Van Halen without Eddie, and Wolfgang is not going to disrespect his pops in any way. Love this CD, it's awesome. I can agree with that. He did what he wanted to do, but of course, there were people who did not like what he was doing. Here's another comment that was left on my initial review. Wake up, it's not good. So this comment implies that everybody was making a big deal over this album. Before I go on any further, let me read another comment that I had saved for 2 years, and I had been waiting to respond to this. It says, this is titled as an album review, and over 3 minutes in, you're still rambling into some half-assed history lesson of shit everyone knows. Oh well, this is my channel. I'm in the driver's seat. I run the show. I'm the fucking president. So if you want a history lesson, I will do one. So here's a history lesson on Wolfgang Van Halen.
I'm in the driver's seat. I run the show. I'm the fucking president.
The story begins back in the year 1980. Eddie Van Halen fell in love with a TV sitcom actress named Valerie Bertinelli, who was one of the main characters on the TV show One Day at a Time. They met at a Van Halen concert and got married 8 months later on April 11, 1981. Wolfgang was born on March 16, 1991. His first band was actually with his dad playing bass for Van Halen from 2006 to 2020. He later played in the band Tremonti from 2012 to 2016. After his father's death in 2020, the band Van Halen was no more, so he began to focus on his solo project, Mammoth WVH, in which he performs all instruments and vocals. That album was released in 2020. Oh, and one more thing, if you want to know where he got the name Mammoth, it was the original name of his dad's band, Van Halen. Now back to Mammoth 2. The album has 10 songs. It was recorded at 5150 Studios and produced by Michael Elvis Vasquet, who also produced the last Seven Dust album that just came out. There were 4 singles released prior to the release of this album, but I will talk about them as I go through the tracks. Opening track is called Right. This is the first track, and this one surprised me at how heavy it was. I guess the way I could describe it is that he is firing off rounds of heavy guitar riffs, and the song is also melodic. The vocals are a lot better than the previous album, and he's doing some interesting things with the guitar now. Like a Pastime is the second song, and it's a pretty cool song. At first it sounds like some kind of grunge song, but then it starts to sound like new wave or goth rock, maybe something like The Cure. I like the guitar riff. It's kind of simple, but it works within the context of the song. Track 3 is Another Celebration at the End of the World. This was one of the singles, and this starts with a drum intro and some guitar riffs where they toggle the left and right channels. This one is more of an energetic song. I would call it a hard rock song with some alternative influences. I enjoyed this song. It was one of the harder rockers on the album with some awesome guitar playing. Track number 4 is called Miles Above Me. This was a good song. It reminded me of modern Alice in Chains. At first it had those types of guitar riffs like Alice in Chains, but the song also sounded more like traditional hard rock. I thought it was very good. I like the drumming, that sounded very good, and it was a fairly catchy song. Take a Bow is track number 5. This one starts with a soft intro, so if we're going to make any Van Halen comparisons, I guess this would be the only one. I would say it reminded me of the song Right Now a little, but the song really takes on its own life as it moves on. It's more of an emotional, laid-back song. I mentioned earlier that this was produced by the same producer as the latest Seven Dust album, and I think this actually sounds a little like Seven Dust, actually. This one was very good, and it shows Wolfgang's maturity as a songwriter. Track number 6 was Optimist, and this one also gave me some Alice in Chains vibes. It had that hard-driving guitar riff and lots of elements of traditional hard rock. In the second half of the song, they used this Smashing Pumpkins cherub rock type of guitar tone, and I thought that was pretty cool. On the right was a straightforward rocker. The use of the piano in the rhythm section reminded me of some classic rock bands from the 70s, but when you hear the main guitar riff, you know that he is bringing in some of his grunge rock influences. The vocals are very good and the lyrics are very emotional, especially when he sings the line, you know, I'm sorry in the chorus. He really lets loose on the guitar solo, letting us know that he can really play the guitar. Erase Me is track number 8, and this was a straightforward rocker. It had elements of 90s alternative. There was some grunge and some hints of modern rock. I thought this was a fairly enjoyable song. I really like the guitar solo. He's showing his shredding abilities. And it was a pretty good song in general. The penultimate song is called Waiting. This is a typical power ballad. It's very radio friendly. It's catchy. I know so far I have been giving this album a lot of praise, but I guess this would be one of the more generic tracks, although it's still pretty good. It's enjoyable to listen to. And other than that, it's okay. Nothing really stood out about it, but it's a decent song. The final track is called Better Than You, and this one was very good, possibly one of the best songs on the album. He's really showing off like who he is as a songwriter, because he is mixing elements of 90s alternative, and there are some like really catchy songwriting abilities on this song. There were even hints of the Beatles in one part of the song. I thought that was cool, and then the song takes a turn towards the end with almost like heavy, almost thrash metal style guitar riffs, and I thought that was really cool. So I enjoyed it. So in conclusion, I thought this was much better than the debut album. I think with the first album, it was something he just put together after his dad passed away. He's still a fairly young guy. He's growing as a songwriter and a musician. So I think he has improved his abilities from one album to the next, which has only been a span of 2 years. And I know there will be people out there, they'll be complaining he's only popular because he is the son of Eddie Van Halen. But he has definitely let it be known that he's not going to try to create Van Halen Part 2. He's doing his own thing. He's doing what he likes, and he does it well. So for that reason, I give this album an 8.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it a lot. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And I'm going to put a link to the video of my original review of the first Mammoth album that came out 2 years ago. That will be right there, and I will see you in the next one.